Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for coming along today to the book presentation. And I'll hand you over to my colleagues now to introduce the event.
Thank you, everyone, for staying along after lunch, and very warm welcome to I think you can hear me properly, right? To the second book award, also called, and that's the extended title, Excellence Award for Collaborative Research. As ESEL, European Society in Comparative Literature, we created this prize award in 2021. I'm going to give you some context before we pass on to the specifics of this second edition. So this prize is awarded every second year to an outstanding edited volume, and this is what makes it particular. So the award praises the cohesiveness of edited volumes, the strengths, the efforts of volumes' editors, and their creative and difficult task that very often goes undervalued. So that's the specificity of this prize. The award consists of a cash prize of €500 that is awarded to the editorial team, and a certificate, the eligibility criteria for those of you who plan to apply for the next edition. The volume should be in English or French, which are the two official languages of our association, as you know. It should be a minimum of 80,000 words, roughly. It should have gone through peer review process already, and it should have a strong connection to at least one European literature with a comparative approach. Within the European Society of Comparative Literature, the EC board designated a team of evaluators, there's 5 of us, there's one missing, and the submissions undergo a long peer review process with 3 different stages, and there is a shortlist, and then there's a decision that is confirmed by the EC board. The prize for the first edition was awarded in Rome at the ESEL Congress at the Sapienza, you might remember that, and the winning volume was Great Immortality, Studies on European Cultural Sainthood, published by Prix in 2019, edited by Marian Dovic and Jon Carl Helgason. So that's the context, and I'll now pass on to my colleague Caroline Fischer, who will explain in French the specificities of the second edition.
Merci beaucoup, Patricia. Merci aussi d'avoir rappelé que justement notre société a 2 langues officielles. Et donc, quelques petits mots en français. Je ne vous présente pas le jury de cette année, donc présidé par la vice-présidente de la société, Shuja Varga, donc composé de 5 membres dont chacun justement représente des spécificités différentes à l'intérieur de la littérature comparée pour pouvoir couvrir un champ aussi large que possible. Donc, nous 4, et bien sûr, la parité aussi est importante. Donc, le 5e membre était Marianne, donc le vainqueur de la première édition. Cette année, nous avons donc eu le plaisir de recevoir 15 candidatures de différents continents. Donc, vous voyez, nous sommes une société européenne, mais quand même beaucoup plus large. Disons, on ne se limite pas uniquement à l'Europe. Les candidatures d'un niveau scientifique excellent, ce qui a rendu notre travail fort difficile, mais extrêmement stimulant. Et c'est en 3 tours différents. D'abord, choisissons les meilleurs, ensuite les finalistes, et enfin le vainqueur, que nous avons pris la décision. Et donc, nous sommes ravis que les 3 finalistes vont présenter eux-mêmes leurs œuvres. Et c'est Metka Supancic qui nous fait le plaisir ou l'honneur d'ouvrir, si je puis dire, le bal. Et on vous laisse notre place.
évidemment, Brigitte Lejuez, absente pour cause de problèmes de santé, et moi-même sommes absolument ravis de nous retrouver comme ça, en très bonne compagnie, parmi les finalistes. Et donc, c'est voilà le livre que je vous montre, qui me vient des mains de Christa Stevens, notre éditrice. Et je voulais placer, enfin, on a combiné nos forces pour préparer ce document, mais comme Brigitte est malade, donc c'était plutôt à moi de vous le présenter. Et je voulais le placer un petit peu dans le contexte de ce qui se passe maintenant. Et on a vu dans le monde, le titre de notre livre, c'est donc le mythe au féminin et l'invisibilisation du corps. Et c'était un thème, à notre avis, très, très important par rapport aux Jeux olympiques récents et qui continuent, parce qu'on a vu la grande pancarte qui a annoncé la sororité. Pour moi, ça a été extrêmement important, puisque notre livre est basé sur la sororité, avec 13 femmes qui participent. Et c'est un principe crucial d'après nous et qui s'est vu critiqué même après l'ouverture des Jeux olympiques de Paris. Donc, au sein de notre volume, ce principe fait espérer que nos efforts collectifs, littéraires et critiques, nourriront de nouvelles voies ouvertes par les efforts des femmes qui repensent les enjeux fondamentaux de la conscience humaine contemporaine, pour que s'affirme une perception modifiée des mythes féminins. Dans nos essais, ces mythes sont conçus et décrits par chacune des contributrices, donc on est 13, comme les manifestations tangibles de l'imaginaire à travers les âges, condensées chaque fois sous une forme un peu différente, de même que les figures mythiques sélectionnées se présentent comme des reflets et des signes indélébiles de l'évolution de la pensée. C'est la synthèse de l'esprit humain en mouvance perpétuelle qui nous intéresse principalement, et surtout, bien sûr, la visibilisation du corps féminin ou encore son invisibilisation fréquente qui est encore problématique de nos jours. On a couvert des œuvres, des clés des auteurs et autrices principalement du XXe et XXIe siècle par rapport à leur transposition souvent osée et radicale des modèles anciens. Et je pense qu'il est de mise de présenter les noms des collègues. Donc, Brigitte et moi, on a fait une longue introduction théorique et on a 4 parties du livre. La première partie s'intitule « Reflet de la stupéfiante méduse ». Et on m'a donné l'honneur d'ouvrir le volume avec mon article « La méduse, comment le corps d'un mythe est-il appréhendé ?» Et je fais honneur aussi à notre éditrice qui a contribué, Christa Stevens, qui a contribué un article très fort, Duras, Méduse et l'inquiétante féminité. Le 3e article vient de Irène Kristeva, Le voile de Diane, corps dévoilé, érotisme voilé. J'ai toutes les particularités de chaque article, mais je n'ai pas le temps de les évoquer. Et le 4e, c'est par Dorothée Catoin-Couche, un travail sur Pierre-Jean Jouve sous le prisme de la Méduse. La 2e partie parle des métamorphoses d'Orphée et retour d'Eurydice, avec de Gina Stam, qui aurait été ma collègue en Alabama, elle a été engagée à mon départ, reconstituer le corps d'Eurydice, le mythe d'Orphée, chez Monique Wittig. Le 2e article dans cette partie, par Nathalie Ségeral, porte sur le récit apocalyptique à l'aune de la Shoah, du paradigme au mythe. Et le 3e touche à l'Afrique, Afrique Eurydice, Orphée noir ou le mythe singorien, par Camilla Ouibi Aitziselmi. La 3e partie, le 3e volet, c'est la reconstruction du corps de mère en fille. Et là, c'est Cheryl Thoman, qui est maintenant la directrice de mon ancien département, avec le corps maternel et les contes mythiques chez Scholastic Mukasonga, donc Rwanda. 2e, par Salomé, que je salue ici pour tout le travail qu'elle a fait. Un excellent article, Donner corps à la condition féminine, réécrire la sexualité dans le mythe de Phèdre. Et le 3e ici, Sophie Emilia Seidler, qui était au colloque de Lille, avec Perséphone, fin d'individualité, une poétique anorexique. Et le dernier volet, la quatrième partie, présentation du féminin dans le mythe, contient 3 contributions. Brigitte Lejuez, à qui on envoie tous nos voeux, a proposé Mains ouvertes et yeux fermés, le mythe de l'amour préhistorique face à la cécité moderne dans les mains négatives de Marguerite Duras. Le suivant, de Yaosca Bautista, s'intitule Mythe de cohésion et mythe de liberté dans l'œuvre de Gioconda Belli et Montserrat Roig. Et le troisième, le dernier, c'est la présence-absence du féminin chez Lévinas par Anne-Laure Buchet, qui condense un petit peu à sa manière donc la femme comme mystère et comme autre, donc un paradigme que les livres comme le nôtre s'efforcent de dépasser. Et je vous remercie.
Now we are going to have the editor of the second book, Rosa Mucigna, present her volume. Yes. Or their volume, rather, sorry.
The two of them.
Sorry.
Volume 2 presenters. So should I speak into here? Is this okay? So I'm here with Steen. We're two of the editors of these 2 volumes that you see on the slides. And it's sorry, do you want to? It's a great honor among colleagues in comparative literature and here at the Sorbonne to have the opportunity to present our 2 collective volumes, Landscapes of Realism, Rethinking Literary Realism in Comparative Perspectives, published by John Benjamins for the International Comparative Literature Association. Plans had long been underway for a volume on realism as part of the ICLA's Comparative History of Literatures in the European Languages series, but things didn't really take off until we came along. And there's maybe a reason for that, because realism, as many of you know, is a tricky object to study, undeniably fundamental to many forms of human representation and yet impossibly hard to define. Other questions quickly emerged about the remit of our project. What are the European languages? Can a comparative history of realism really be limited to literature alone? The initial group started meeting, I think, exactly 10 years ago, when Steen and I joined an all-star team that comprised Sven-Erik Larsen, who's in the audience. Hi, Sven-Erik. But also Dirk Götzsche, Margaret Higonet, Galin Tikhanov, and the late Patrizia Lombardo, to whose memory our volumes are dedicated. And many others joined later. From the start, we decided that our volume, we didn't know back then that we would end up writing 2, would adopt the broadest possible linguistic and geographical scope, and that case studies in non-European languages.
Because this doesn't work.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this better? And that case studies in non-European languages were necessary. And secondly, that we would emphasize the importance of interdisciplinary approaches in times of new media. And as the subtitle makes explicit, we wanted to rethink realism in comparative perspectives. This is because we view realism as an ongoing and open experiment with forms and themes that responds to a volatile reality in permanent change, not as a school historically limited by stable aesthetic doctrines. So our already daunting tasks seem to be getting larger and ever larger. So the comparative approach that we adopted to tackle it has been, first of all, collaborative, because with the help of a generous grant from the Leverhulme Foundation in the UK, we organized an extensive program of workshops where we invited colleagues from all over the world to contribute. And these were really workshops in the sense that we were all working together in a focused way towards a concrete aim. Yet what we remember is also the feeling of an ongoing, exciting intellectual conversation that was free-flowing and to which we could all contribute in different ways. Our approach has been transnational because the material that we cover in the 2 volumes comes from 4 continents and over 20 languages. It's been transmedial because beyond the written word, we also look at painting, caricature, photography, film, graphic novels, computer games, and digital media. And fourth, it has been transhistorical because the scope of the volumes goes from early modern period to the present. And the result has been the two hefty volumes that you've seen in the previous slide. They're about 800 pages each, and 50 contributors have been involved. And we very much hope that many of you will dip in and look up things in the volumes, if not read them from cover to cover. And readers of the volume will recognize our innovative approach to long-standing critical issues such as what is realism, time and space, emotions and memory, genre and form, and worldling realism. They might also discover unexpected new materials and readings. For instance, just to give you a flavor, a sense of the scope of the volumes, you can read on the Ma chronotope in Japanese fiction, on island realism in Irish Gaelic literature, haptic realism in film is a theme, realism and gaming, which is relevant here, affective realism and realism in the Swahili utenzi, which is a genre of epic poetry. All will be helped by the clear distribution of the material in 11 thematic sections, each with a broad, substantial core chapter and a set of more specialized essays, exemplifying the experimental nature of realism across languages, forms and media, centuries and continents. Thank you very much for your attention.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Can you hear me? No? This one is better, I think. Yeah. Okay, so I didn't do anything, I didn't write anything. I'm just going to act as the proxy for the authors of Iberian and Translation Studies, Literary Contact Zones, and the proxy, the avatar, for the authors, Esther Gimeno Ugalde, Marta Pacheco Pinto, and Angela Fernandez. The book was published in 2021 by Liverpool University Press. Okay. We apologize, dear fellow comparatists. We apologize for not being physically with you in Paris for the biennial gathering of the European Society of Comparative Literature, and warmly thank myself for lending us his voice to present our book, Iberian and Translation Studies, Literary Contact Zones. We are honored to have our book shortlisted for the ESCL Excellence Award for Collaborative Research, and thank you for the opportunity to briefly describe the volume. This collection of 16 essays was published in 2021 by Liverpool University Press. It draws upon Mary Louise Pratt's relational concept of the contact zone to explore the intersection of Iberian and translation studies from a comparative perspective. However obvious this intersection may seem in view of the history, formation, and development of the Iberian Peninsula, this conceptual and epistemological breach had never been consistently and systematically addressed before. We targeted this aim by theorizing Iberia not only as a literary and cultural system, but, more significantly, as a transnational contact zone. By revitalizing Pratt's notion, which serves as the conceptual thread weaving together the essays, the volume explores translation and specific translation practices, such as indirect translation and self-translation, as truly productive intra-Iberian literary and cultural dialogues. Thus, this pioneering book claims Iberian translation studies as a new research area within comparative literature. Authored by 19 scholars from 13 different European and American universities, the volume's theoretical contributions and case studies shed light on the multiple translation flows that have shaped the Iberian policy system from the 16th century onwards. These studies on the diversity of the Iberian translation contact zone, including Basque, Catalan, Galician, Portuguese, and Spanish, undoubtedly add to a more complete picture of the complexity of the European multilingual literary and cultural landscape. Moreover, the volume serves as a case study of Southern European literary translation transfers and proves useful for comparison with other intra-systemic translation transfers across Europe and beyond. In a nutshell, our book is based on a productive comparative inquiry and epistemology. It crosses spaces, times, and genre. It rests on interlinguistic research, the Iberian languages, inter-artistic dialogues, particularly literature and theater, multidisciplinary methodologies, close and distant reading, archival research, paratextual and ethnographic approaches, and interdisciplinary theoretical frameworks, from literary and translation theory to the sociology of literature, postcolonial thought, or genetic translation approaches. Moreover, it examines the role of literary agents, such as writers, translators, editors, and institutions, and various cultural, contextual, and historical factors playing a part in the translation flows taking place in the territory. Last but not least, the book Iberian and Translation Studies, Literary Contact Zones, is the result of truly collaborative comparative research, being the first published output of the Iber Translatio project, hosted by the research cluster DIIA, Iberian and Ibero-American Dialogues, in cooperation with the Moving Bodies, Circulations, Narratives, and Archives in Translation cluster at the Center for Comparative Studies, University of Lisbon. Thank you very much. Esther Guimeno Ugalde, Marta Pacheco Pinto, Angela Fernandez. So we are going to share all the information and reviews, the link to 4 reviews actually, of the book in the next newsletter. So we're going to keep you posted. Thank you.
Am I okay here? Is this all right? Okay, good. Thank you very much. So now I have the particular pleasure of sharing the information with you that as you have heard, we have 3 books, but we can only have 1 winner. So we have selected 1 winner, and I would also like to mention that the 2 other books are of equal value. So we are not necessarily talking about the first prize and the second prize and the third prize, but we are talking about the first prize and runner-up, or 2 runner-ups, the first prize. So I have the pleasure of announcing that the jury, after long deliberations, decided that the first prize goes to the book called Landscapes of Realism, Rethinking Realism in Comparative Perspectives. So I'd very much like to ask you, so congratulations, Rosa and company. And I would like to, yes, this is it. So I would like to hand over several copies of the certificate to you because thank you very, very, very much. Congratulations and thank you very, very, very much. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for submitting. And as I said, we do have 2 more prizes to give. And Metka, if you wouldn't mind coming up to accept the second runner-up prize, if you like, or the other runner-up prize. Metka, and again, let's give an applause to Metka and say, thank you. And also, please give Bridget our best wishes. Absolutely. For everything that's going on. Thank you very, very much. And the other second prize will go therefore to the Iberian book. I mean, Ricardo, you need to come up here and pretend you are the editorial team again. But I think we should give Ricardo and his team the applause, right? Even if he's not part of the editorial team. So thank you very, very, very much for everything. And I would very much like to thank the committee again for working very hard on these books. We had fun. We had great fun reading those manuscripts because they were all very, very, very good, by the way. But and we also enjoyed and we learned a lot from those. There is a next stage to this. We are hoping, obviously, we are going to share information about the books in the next newsletter. And if the editors decide, we are also going to publish reviews of the books, kind of scholarly, proper reviews of the books in the forthcoming issues of the Society's journal. But that's entirely up to the editors. This is not really this team's decision at all. This is a prize that we run every 2 years. So please keep your eyes peeled for the announcement of the next round of the same prize, basically, and for the next round of books that we are going to hopefully award prizes in 2 years' time. Thank you very much.